Athens, the crown of Greece, a city of art, philosophy, and democracy. But in the winter of 432 BC, whispers of doom spread through its streets. Messengers from Sparta had arrived with an ultimatum: surrender to their demands or face war. The Athenians knew their enemy well. Sparta, the iron-fisted military state, where boys became soldiers at birth and death in battle was the highest honor. Athens was its opposite, a naval power, rich in trade, led by a democracy of free citizens. One thrived on discipline and war, the other on wealth and wisdom. Both powers had circled each other for years, avoiding open war. But now the choice was clear: peace on Sparta's terms or destruction. The Athenian assembly gathered on the Pnyx Hill. Nearly 10,000 citizens crowded together, their voices clashing like waves on stone. Some shouted for war. Strike Sparta first. Seize the advantage. Others urged caution. Sparta's army cannot be beaten on land. We would be feeding ourselves to the wolves. The debate raged, voices rising in anger, until suddenly, silence. A familiar figure stepped forward. A man with a calm face, piercing eyes, and unmatched authority. Pericles, the elder statesman, the architect of Athens' golden age. His word carried more weight than any general or orator. Pericles was no ordinary leader. For decades, he had shaped Athens not through reckless conquest, but through reason, patience, and vision. He had empowered common citizens, farmers, sailors, craftsmen, giving them a voice in the assembly. He had restrained Athens from overreaching in war, focusing instead on stability. He had poured Athens' wealth into grand works, theaters, temples, and above all, the Parthenon, a monument to wisdom and order. And now, he offered a plan unlike any other. No, Athens would not fight Sparta in open fields. That was suicide. Instead, the people would retreat behind the great walls of the city, supplied endlessly by their navy. Let Sparta burn the fields. They would tire themselves out. Meanwhile, Athens would raid Spartan coasts and bleed their allies. Victory, Pericles argued, would come not through glory, but through patience. At first, the strategy held. Sparta raged across the countryside, but Athens endured. The walls stood firm, the navy fed the city. But then disaster struck. A plague entered Athens, spreading through the crowded streets. Coughing, fever, death, it swept through the city like fire in dry grass. Tens of thousands perished, families torn apart, the army crippled, and among the victims was Pericles himself. As he lay dying, he watched the city he had guided for decades fall into chaos. Discipline collapsed. Fear reigned. Without him, Athens was like a ship without a captain, adrift in a storm. With Pericles gone, Athens turned to reckless leaders who promised vengeance. The city grew crueler, darker. In one infamous act, Athens attacked the small island of Melos. When the Melians surrendered, the assembly voted to slaughter every man and sell every woman and child into slavery. The Athens of wisdom had become the Athens of blood. And then, a new plan emerged, one that would seal the city's fate. 415 BC. The assembly approved a grand expedition. Invade Sicily, capture the powerful city of Syracuse, and cripple Sparta's supply lines. At first, they sent 60 ships. But when a cautious general warned of disaster, the people doubled down. 100 ships, thousands of soldiers. The greatest armada Athens had ever launched. On the day of departure, the harbor became a festival. Gleaming ships stretched across the sea. Soldiers in polished armor lined the decks. Families wept with pride, certain of victory. But pride is a dangerous thing. The campaign dragged on. Syracuse proved strong. Sparta sent reinforcements. Soon the Athenians were trapped, desperate, begging for help. Athens sent another armada, almost as large as the first. And then, catastrophe. The Athenian fleet was annihilated. The army destroyed. Few ever returned. News of the disaster spread like wildfire. A barber in the port town of Piraeus heard the rumor first. The Sicilian Expedition was lost. At first, people refused to believe it. But as the truth spread, panic consumed the city. Athens was broken. Ships gone. Soldiers gone. Treasure gone. For years, the city stumbled from defeat to defeat, until in 405 BC, Sparta struck the final blow. Athens surrendered. The once great empire was no more. Athens fell not because Sparta was stronger, but because it betrayed the wisdom of its greatest leader. Pericles had warned them. The greatest danger was not the enemy's strength, but their own mistakes. He had urged restraint, patience, and unity. But after his death, Athens gave in to rage, greed, and hubris. The result was inevitable: ruin. And yet, the golden age he created, the Parthenon, the philosophy of Socrates, the dramas of Sophocles, still echo through history. The story of Athens is not just the story of a city. It is the story of human nature. Civilizations fall not only by the sword, but from within. This was the rise and fall of Athens. A story of brilliance and tragedy. A story of wisdom ignored and hubris embraced. A story for all time.